Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out how Motörhead and Ace of Spades united the punks and metalheads. No British can.
In the 70s, there was metal.
Metal.
And then there was punk.
I got a feeling inside of me.
Two separate entities that rarely, if ever, mixed. However,
So
a band
similar,
both
though.
subcultures could agree on was Motörhead, led by the hoarse rumble of Lemmy. With their first 3 albums, they cemented their place as one of the loudest bands Britain has ever produced. But the lead single from their 4th album proved they could be metal heavy, mangled with punk attitude, and still be able to cross over to the pop charts. This is
Pop
New
charts?
British Canon, and this is the story of Ace of Spades.
Ace of Spades got onto the pop charts? Wow. Okay, Lemmy, an introduction, 1945 to 1975. We're going way back. The birth of rock and roll, Hawkwind, and A-words. YouTube algorithm won't let me say that. Looking back, it's weird that metal and punk were so separate because they're so similar. So similar. Distorted guitars, drums, bass. Screaming, subversion, irreverence.
The story of Motörhead is really the story of their only consistent member, Ian Fraser Kilmister, known to the world at large as Lemmy. Falling for the rock and roll of Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and Buddy Holly, the teenage Lemmy quickly observed the guitar's effect on the opposite sex. When I saw Buddy Holly play in 1958, I was there looking for girls. At that age, you want to get laid. I saw this English rock singer, Billy Fury.
Sounds
And
like
he was
Buddy Holly.
surrounded by all these chicks, rubbing his crotch. I thought, that's the fucking job for me.
How old was he then? 1958, so he would have been 13 years old, I think. Down the street from where I live is a place called The Rainbow. And apparently Lemmy used to hang out there all the time. He sat in the same spot at the bar and everything. You could just go there and talk to him. Yeah, he was born, Christmas Eve, 1945. So he would have been 13 years old. When I was 13 years old, I would have been terrified to get laid. I don't know. I wouldn't have known. There was not even a remote chance of that happening.
That's the fucking job for me. Through the 60s, alongside roadieing for the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Lemmy had been in various bands as a guitarist, including the raucous freak beat of the Rocking Vickers.
Okay.
And the weirdo psychedelia of Sam Gopal. But he learned.
Wait, so he was in those bands? Is that what he's saying? Alongside rotating for the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Lemmy had been in various bands as a guitarist, including the raucous freak beat of the Rockin' Vic. Yeah, he plays bass like a guitar player. It's all distorted and he's playing with a pick. Interesting.
But he learned how to play bass after joining space rockers Hawkwind in August 1971. The band had a rotating lineup, with sometimes as many as 9 people on stage, including the 6'2" nude dancer Stacia and resident poet Robert Calvert, coming on like a dark shadow of the unremitting krautrock movement. Lemmy would describe Hawkwind in his autobiography as a black fucking nightmare. It was there that Lemmy developed his insistent, pulsing bass style, serving in Hawkwind as a hypnotic drone. But would later be the driving force within the Motörhead sound. Lemmy integrated himself into the group well enough, even singing on their biggest UK hit, Silver Machine, which reached number 3 in July 1972.
3's good.
But the rest of the band were into psychedelics like acid, and Lemmy preferred uppers like speed. This narcotic difference of opinion and the resultant mind states would increase tensions within the group.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You got one guy going up here and everybody else is going down there. It's not going to work out. If the wavelengths don't match, you're not going to get along. Gotta match that wavelength.
During my time with Hawkwind, I really came out of any show I may have been in, stage-wise. I was always at the front of the stage and showing off, and since I wasn't the leader of the band, it was considered most presumptuous, and I started to write songs, which I think pissed everybody off as well. In May 1975, Lemmy was caught on a drug possession charge at the Canadian border, and while the band paid his bail, it was only because they couldn't find a replacement in time for the next show. But with the charges later dropped and free from Hawkwind, he returned to London, stole as much of his previous band's equipment as he could, and formed a new band with himself as the frontman.
Lemmy, you stole their equipment? Oh, well, that's not cool, Lemmy. But it's pretty damn rock and roll. I wonder what he stole. In a video interview with The Quietus, Lemmy explains, I was mediocre at guitar. I couldn't play lead to save my life or yours. I went for a job with Hawkwind as a guitar player, but they didn't need one. The bass player didn't show up because it was a free gig, but like an idiot, he left his bass in the gear van. It was like, please steal my gig, so I stole his gig. Oh, what equipment did he steal? Motörhead used to steal equipment. Y'all, this is a problem in the music industry. This happens. And I'm afraid Lemmy took part in it. Okay, this is what ChatGPT is telling me. Okay. One of the commonly recounted pieces is that Lemmy allegedly took a Space Echo tape delay unit. Those were expensive, y'all. Not cool, Lemmy.
Lemmy's new group were initially called Bastard, before someone alerted him that it would be difficult to get on top of the pops with that name.
Yeah.
He instead titled the group after the last song he wrote in Hawkwind. Getting its name from the American verbiage for a speed freak, one that is unable to stop talking, Motörhead was written with Lemmy being in a similar state of mind while on Hawkwind's 1974 US tour.
Interesting.
I don't remember the exact chronology of the night, but I was still up at 7 in the morning, howling away at the top of my voice. Loud, fast, raucous, speed freak rock and roll. It was the perfect moniker for his new project. The initial lineup consisted of Lemmy on bass and vocals, the Pink Fairies' Larry Wallace on guitar, and Lucas Fox on drums.
Okay.
I wanted it to be sort of like the MC5, since that was the big hero band of most of the underground.
Similar energy.
And throw in elements of Little Richard and Hawkwind, and that's more or less how it turned out. We were a blues band really. Although we played it at 1,000 miles per hour, it was recognizable as blues. At least to us it was.
I don't hear Little Richard in there at all.
Though this outrageously loud new band was summarily mocked in the music press, Lemmy was never one to care what the NME, Sounds, or anyone else thought. Whereas some bands were all talk or playing a rock star character, Motörhead were literally amphetamine-fueled reprobates who cared little for anything that wasn't boozing, brawling, fucking, or rock and roll.
Well,
and that came across in their music.
Yeah.
That no bullshit attitude and relentless touring with the likes of Blue Oyster Cult, Pink Fairies and Hawkwind gained them a small yet die-hard following amongst the biker set. Releasing their debut self-titled album in 1977, they also found like minds in the punk movement. Lemmy having tried to teach Sid Vicious to play bass, alongside the band sharing stages with The Damned and Adverts. Both Punk and Motörhead were taking rock and roll back to its basics and revving it to breaking point.
Lemmy tried to teach Sid Vicious how to play bass. I think he was unsuccessful. Lemmy was not a good music teacher. Can you imagine trying to sit Sid Vicious down and make him play a scale? Play me a pentatonic scale, Sid. Blah, 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 blah.
Like the punks, we just swept all that tedious 70s Rick Wakeman, artsy-fartsy, yellow bell-bottoms, caftans and sandals shit aside. If you hadn't seen what we looked like, you would have thought we were a punk band.
Yeah, they sound
After
punk.
a rough first few years of record label fuckery, and being named Best Worst Band in the World by NME, Motörhead brought it together with their second and definitive lineup of Fast Eddie Clarke on guitar and Filthy Animal Taylor on drums.
Why'd the other two guys leave? Or get kicked out? Oh, the drummer Lucas Fox, during the recording of their first album, was proved to be unreliable and was replaced by drummer Phil Filthy Animal Taylor, a casual acquaintance of Lemmy's. In March 1976, deciding that two guitarists were required, the band auditioned an acquaintance of drummer Taylor's named Fast Eddie Clarke, Wallace, quit immediately after the auditions, and Clarke remained as the sole guitarist. Oh, so the original guitarist quit, and the Lemmy Clarke Taylor group is regarded as classic Motörhead. Okay.
In September 1978, their cover of proto-punk staple Louie Louie would be their first charting single, reaching number 68.
Chart with a cover.
Their March 1970...
I've never heard that. Oh, that's so funny. That's like the poppiest thing they ever did, I bet. Huh.
Their March 1979 second album, Overkill, demonstrated this consolidation of ideas, band members, and sound. It was harder, faster, more in your face.
Overkill is a song that I think that was the first time I heard. Well, Ace of Spades was probably the first time I heard them. But Overkill, yeah.
Band members and sound. It was harder, faster, more in your face. The title track was their first to implement double bass drumming. A flourish that Taylor had promised himself not to indulge in until he learned how to play them. Rehearsing the thundering technique formed the basis for the track.
I was actually doing that, playing that riff, you know, just trying to get my coordination right, when Eddie and Lemmy walked in, and I was just about to stop, and they went, no, don't stop, keep going, keep going. And that was how Overkill got written.
Wow.
Overkill.
Yeah, you know, I'm a drummer as well, and I think that's why I've heard that song. That's a very iconic drum beat for heavy metal drummers everywhere to learn. As soon as you get a double bass kit or a double bass pedal, that's what you play. That exact thing. And I think that inspired Lars Ulrich with a lot of his parts in Metallica. Wow.
Overkill would be the ensuing credo for the group. Why be simply loud when you can be louder than everything else? At their most deafening, the band surpassed 130 decibels at a concert in 1984.
Oh my god.
At which point the ceiling started to crack and the show had to be shut down as a safety precaution.
I'm not surprised. Y'all, 130 decibels. Let's just find one of those charts. I think that's like a jet engine taking off. Oh, a jet engine at 100 feet is 140 decibels. Pain begins at 125, so they were playing 5 decibels beyond pain. A pneumatic chipper right by your ear is 120 decibels. A chainsaw at 3 feet is 110 decibels. The level at which sustained exposure may result in hearing loss is 80 to 90 decibels. Some people walked away from that show with ringing in their ears, no doubt.
The ceiling started to crack, and the show had to be shut down as a safety precaution. This is approximately the same volume as a jet plane taking off.
Yep.
We're loud and rowdy. It's the only way we know how to be. But we are also very good at playing our instruments. Just because we have our amps turned right up doesn't mean we're trying to hide our lack of talent behind a wall of noise. We can definitely play. This is a serious band. At the same time, a new generation of UK metal bands were starting to make ripples.
Judas Priest. Def Leppard was heavy metal back then? Wow. I think of them as like pop rock or arena rock. Diamond Head. Oh, wow. I know Am I Evil because Metallica covered that on their first album. See, I know of these British metal bands only because of Metallica. Metallica loved these UK heavy metal bands. That's how I know of Motörhead. That's how I know about Overkill. That's how I know about Iron Maiden and Diamond Head. Bruce Dickinson.
The press called it the new wave of British heavy metal and felt that Motörhead either fit into this movement or were at least formative to its sound.
Absolutely.
Lemmy disagreed.
What?
I like Iron Maiden and Saxon out of the new mob, and that's about it really. We were too late for the first metal movement and early for the next one. Motörhead don't fit into any category really. We're not straight heavy metal because we're a rock and roll band.
Oh. He did mention that they were a blues band in that last quote. Interesting take.
Despite Motörhead's confrontational sound, they still managed to appeal to a mass audience. The Overkill album making its way to number 24 in June 1979,
Nice.
while the single went top 40.
They played on Top of the
band
Pops.
Their second appearance on Top of the Pops.
Awesome.
Overkill! Overkill! Overkill!
It was nice to be getting it across to the public, but the thing is, that show was always tacky. I think the audience on the show liked it, but when they're told to boogie, they boogie. So I don't know if it's true they liked it.
Oh. He's saying people were dancing, but the producers were telling the crowd to dance. I'm surprised he agreed to do the lip syncing thing. You know? I'm surprised. He agreed
But
to
when
it.
they're told to boogie, they boogie. So I don't know if it's true they liked it. The Top of the Pops crowd may have fake danced to Overkill, but 1980 would bring a Motörhead song that no one, not even the teeny boppers, could deny.
Ace of Spades. The only card I need is Ace of Spades. 1980 Vic Mail, wood block, and slot machines.
For their two 1979 records, Overkill and Bomber, Motörhead had worked with Exile Main Street producer Jimmy Miller. However, the band felt that Bomber's production had lacked their trademark grit.
We shoot to kill, and you know we always will. It's a bomber.
If you listen to Bomber, the
Sounds pretty
songs
gritty.
don't have the edge they have when we do them live.
We shoot to kill, and you know we always will. It's a bomber. It's a bomber.
I bet if you turn it up to 130 decibels, it will.
I can't say it's an album I am happy with. The songs are all good, but Jimmy Miller, well, we made the mistake of letting him do what he wanted without arguing. Sure, Bomber sold well, but I doubt we'll work with Jimmy again. He has his own demons to deal with, and it made him difficult and unreliable.
Lemmy, that's harsh. What was he dealing with? What was he dealing with? Oh, he also produced Primal Scream? Well, whatever demons he was dealing with are not on Wikipedia.
Instead, for album 4, Motörhead teamed up with Vic Mail, who Lemmy had previously worked with when he engineered Hawkwind's Space Ritual live album.
Okay.
Since then, Mail had produced Down by the Jetty by Dr. Feelgood and the top 5 smash 2468 Motorway by Tom Robinson.
2, 4, 6, 8, never too late. Me and my radio trucking on through the night.
Unlike the smack-addicted Miller, Mail was less prone to the excesses of rock and roll. He didn't drink, he didn't smoke, and he was very delicate because he was diabetic. We couldn't get heavy with him. Couldn't fucking shake him. You know what I mean? He might die, so we had to listen to him. The unlikely pairing of Mail...
Oh. He was diabetic, so they couldn't stress him out. He was delicate. He was sensitive, man. I did notice in the samples of the recordings something that a lot of really great metal albums have is a lot of attack on the kick drum. The recordings before didn't have that. The Jimmy Miller produced one, they didn't have that. It was a very like kind of kick drum. This 2468 does have it.
Robinson.
2, 4, 6, 8, never too late.
Hear that slap on the kick drum? That's what Motörhead needed.
Less prone to the excesses of rock and roll. He didn't drink, he didn't smoke, and he was very deaf. You know what I mean? He might die, so we had to listen to him. The unlikely pairing of male and Motörhead would prove inspired. His soft-spoken manner was able to handle the group's infighting, but it also helped that he was a rock and roll savant, creating a sound that was just as nasty and pummeling as Motörhead were live, but in a way so that each element could be discerned and had its own punch. He certainly had his own ideas. He put his little bits in, little bits and bobs, and he would subtly just try to steer you a bit. Like if my guitar was a little too dirty, he wouldn't pull his punches, but he did it in a way where you didn't want to argue with him. Mel's most prominent influence was on what would become the album's title track, Ace of Spades. The band had rehearsed the track before entering Jackson's studios in Rickmansworth and produced an instrumental demo.
Smart. That sounds good for being a demo.
Missing though was the song's central tearaway guitar riff. Vic kinda questioned what we were doing with the song. He made us look at that riff, so Lemmy and I started fucking around with it a bit.
Oh, there it is.
Also down to Mel's input was the use of woodblock in the breakdown, what Lemmy has since called the tap dancing section.
It's a woodblock.
If it was anyone else, we'd have told them to go and fuck off and die, or tied them to the car and run around the car park with them. But because it was Vic, we said, oh, alright Vic. So we're there with these blocks of wood, banging them together. He put loads of reverb on, and that's the sound you hear.
Okay.
Depending on what you want to believe, Lemmy wrote the lyrics for Ace of Spades, either speeding down the motorway at 90 miles per hour, or on the toilet. The words all referred to gambling verbiage, mostly dice and cards, from the least desirable rolling craps.
7 or 11, snake eyes watching you.
To the hand Wild West sharpshooter Bill Hickok had when he was shot dead. The Ace of Spades itself often symbolizes bad luck or death.
Really? Is that the hand? Is that the hand that he had? 2-pair poker hand consisting of the black aces and black eights. 2 eights and 2 aces. Dead man's hand. Wow. The makeup of poker's dead man's hand has varied throughout the years. Currently, it is described as a 2-pair poker hand consisting of the black aces and black eights. The pair of aces and eights, along with an unknown hole card, were reportedly held by Old West folk hero lawman and gunfighter Wild Bill Hickok when he was murdered while playing a game. Wow. Ace of Spades! Ace of Spades!
The Ace of Spades itself often symbolizes bad luck or death, therefore making it the most metal of cards.
I didn't know that.
The only card I need is the Ace of Spades. The Ace of Spades.
But Lemmy himself never envisioned any meaning behind the lyrics beyond them sounding cool.
It could mean all things to all men.
Yeah, no doubt.
A good song usually
No doubt it does. You know.
A good song usually
They
does.
probably think it's all kinds of clever metaphors, which it isn't. You know, it's like it's just a gamble and see if you can do a word exercise and get all this gambling motif into these 3 verses.
Which probably explains the offhand line before the solo.
Don't forget the Joker.
A desperate attempt to squeeze one more poker term into the song. The irony, of course, is that though Lemmy did have ample experience gambling, rarely was there anything that was mentioned in the song. I don't have any good gambling stories. I have lots of bad ones. I've lost a lot of money. I'm not a poker player. I play slot machines. I've been playing them since I was about 18, when you were getting into bars. I don't trust any form of gambling with people involved in it. I like the machines better. But then, the 3 red 7s doesn't have the same ring.
Oh, that's hilarious. He was a slot guy. He wasn't playing poker. Yeah, it would have been a whole different song. Put in a quarter, pull the lever, watch the thing spin. 3 7s, 3 7s. Yeah, it's not the same. The enduring impact of Motörhead, 1980, charts thrash metal and the young ones. Okay.
Ace of Spades.
I just want to say, I didn't realize how great the snare drum sounds on Ace of Spades until I watched this video. I love the snare sound.
Ace of Spades was released as a single in late October 1980 and stayed at number 15 in the UK charts for 2 weeks,
That's really
resulting in
good.
2 separate appearances on Top of the Pops.
The pleasure is to play. Ain't no difference what you say.
On both occasions, the crowd lost their minds as the band
Awesome.
mimed along to their fleet-footed, grimy rock and roll classic.
Sweet.
As a result, the Ace of Spades album would be their biggest selling yet, charting at number 4 in the UK.
Awesome.
But in a way, Ace of Spades marked the end of an era for the band. Though their 1981 live album, No Sleep Till Hammersmith, would top the UK charts, Clark would leave during the sessions of Iron Fist, dismantling their classic lineup. Within the new wave of British heavy metal, Iron Maiden and Def Leppard were the bands who dominated commercially, especially in the US. But
my
Motörhead
God, Def
continued to be
Leppard.
a fixture in the community, touring and releasing albums at an average of 1 every 2 years. We didn't sell many albums. I wrote the words to Mama I'm Coming Home for Ozzy.
Really? Wow.
And I made more from that song than I had from Motörhead at that point. Wow. I'm not gonna die broke, but I'm not rich. Nonetheless, the influence is considerable and far-reaching. A lot of US hardcore punk kids got their start attempting to play through Ace of Spades.
Huh.
But UK
Wow.
punks also took notice. Said Barney Greenway of Napalm Death, Motörhead were the first extreme band. That third wave of punk with Discharge and GBH.
Oh.
If you listen to the bass sound on those punk records, they sound like a concrete mixer. That's from Lemmy, nobody else.
Wow.
Though Lemmy himself preferred to be considered a rock and roll band, the metal genre has taken a lot from Motörhead. The speed and distortion of Venom's black metal owes a lot to their sound.
There's that kick drum thing.
A pivotal album in the darker, heavier metal subgenres that would appear throughout the 1980s, as well as preempting the new wave of British heavy metal. Overkill in its thunderous double bass drumming is cited as a precursor for thrash.
Absolutely.
Said Dave Lombardo of Slayer.
From Motörhead was the first time I heard double bass done at that pattern. I've heard of other double bass drummers, but I don't think they did anything like that at that tempo and that style of beat.
Yeah.
So no Motörhead, no Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, Testament, Sepultura, Creator, or any other
So
thrash
many.
bands. Most unlikely of all, the boss battle theme from Final Fantasy VII, cribs from the band.
What?
But for the average music fan, Ace of Spades will remain the Motörhead song, a crossover hit that has become the perfect, mimetic depiction of destruction and rock and roll abandon, whether appearing on The Young Ones or soundtracking Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. Lemmy was never 100% sold on the song as their monolith. Ace of Spades is unbeatable, apparently, but I never knew it was such a good song. I'm glad we got famous for that rather than some turkey. I sang the Eight of Spades for 2 years, and nobody noticed. Lemmy died on the 28th of December 2015, 4 days after his 70th birthday. It's
pretty
He was a
good.
man who predated rock and roll, heard its birth wails, decided this is for me, and devoted his life to the cause. The week after he died, Ace of Spades appeared once again in the UK charts. At number 13, its highest ever charting. Lyrically, it may just be throwaway, a challenge to see how many gambling idioms he could fit into 2.5 minutes. But that riff, that beat, Lemmy's bass rumble, the way he barks every line, adrenalizes like nothing else. The pleasure is to play. It makes no difference what you say.
Trash Theory always does that with the lyrics. Very good, very good.
Thanks for watching. So is Ace of Spades your favourite Motörhead song? If not, what is? Let me know by commenting down below. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and why didn't you also do me a favour and share it with a couple of people? It really does help. Also, I'd like to shout out all my supporters over on Patreon. Thank you so much. Likewise. And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time for something I promise is not an April Fool.
Y'all be sure to go to Trash Theory and like and subscribe. This is amazing. The Legacy of the Rainbow Bar and Grill. It's just down the street. The restaurant was founded by Elmer Valentine, Lou Adler, and Mario Maglieri, and opened with a party held for Elton John, who had made his American debut at the Troubadour 2 years earlier. Oh yeah, there's a Lemmy statue there. He was there all the time. During the 70s and 80s, there were at least 300 people in the parking lot every single night. It was the second home to Lemmy Kilmister of Motörhead, who passed away in 2015. Lemmy loved the rainbow so much that he moved to West Hollywood to be closer to it. In the last 2 decades of his life, he was a daily fixture at the Rainbow whenever the band was not on tour. And he was often seen playing at the bar's video poker machine. Ace of Spades! Following a successful crowdfunding campaign and months of anticipation, a memorial statue in his honor was unveiled in 2016 at his favorite hangout on the back patio. I don't like that he stole gear, but I like that he was irreverent about it. What a career. I could be totally wrong about this, but I feel like he was one of the first bass players to play the bass like a guitar with distortion on it. Before that, some bass players did that, but it would be maybe like one song here or there, put a fuzz pedal on the bass or something like that, but he did it all the time. I wish they had more hits because they were so influential. All those bands after them took the Motörhead thing and made it more commercial and had all this success. I wish they got a little piece of that. I love that he's so nonchalant about the writing of the song. It was like, yeah, it was just a bunch of gambling metaphors. Like, no big deal. Makes it seem like a school assignment, like a homework thing. Poetry class, go write a song about gambling. All right. Well, y'all, if you made it this far in the video, be sure to give me a like and subscribe too. You know what I'm saying? I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee people. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later.